Access Fort Wayne offers reflections of our community. Production facilities provided by Access Fort Wayne are a service of the Allen County Public Library. The views and opinions expressed do not necessarily represent those of Access Fort Wayne, the Allen County Public Library, or any other supporting organizations. For more information about creating your own television program with Access Fort Wayne, call 421-1250.
Hello, and welcome to our show, The American Veteran. I'm Dale Parrish, your host, Carl Fowler is co-host, and also sitting in with us this morning is our Marine veteran, Scott Barnett. Our guest today is Greg Strokotter. He's an Iraq veteran of the Iraq War, or after the fact, after the war, I guess, a little bit.
Well.
Anyway, welcome to the show, Greg. You was over there when? When was you over there?
Well, initially I was over there. I was in Kuwait for the initial push.
Oh, was you? I didn't know that.
We went over there, their first tour, and what was it, about February, and then we invaded in March. And then we went home in June because, you know, the commander-in-chief said, hey, job well done, mission accomplished. So we went home. And then about a year later, I ended up going back over to Iraq, over to Abu Ghraib prison, and stayed there for about a year and did my tour, then came home.
Yeah. Okay, now where was the prison located? Was that around Baghdad?
Yeah, actually it was about 15 minutes from Baghdad and about 15 minutes from Fallujah. Okay. So we were right in the middle there.
I'm gonna say.
You'll make it clear you was there after the scandal.
Oh yeah, I should probably mention that. Yeah, our unit was the next unit in after the big scandal. Our unit motto was restoring America's freedom.
Yeah.
Okay. Or not? It was restoring America's honor, not freedom.
Okay.
That wouldn't make much sense.
In other words, after the scandal, you were trying to get American patriotism and everything, honor, and everything back up.
Yeah, I would say that's fairly correct. I mean, we were there ultimately to do our job, which should have been taking place beforehand. But the unit before us, they sullied our image a little bit.
They goofed up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
they sure did.
Yeah. And like. What was there? More than 3 people involved? There was command?
On an issue like that, you got to imagine that the command knows something's going on.
Right.
Ultimately, only a few people were indicted and held responsible, but just from my experience, and especially over there, there has to be, at least 10, 15 people, in the immediate, and then the higher ups have to know. I mean, it's such a, you guys know, it's such a tight-knit community, and, you can't not know what's going on.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess only 2 of them served prison time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
the face of the whole scandal was that Lydia England, I believe.
Yeah, Lindy England, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the point being is if you're military and you goof up, you got to face the consequences.
That's for sure. That's for sure.
And they did goof up, and they hurt our image, and they
Boy, did they. Yeah.
paid the consequences or are paying yet.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say, I imagine that was, you guys had to be on your best behavior.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we had International Red Cross there pretty much every day, interviewing the detainees, interviewing us. I mean, it usually took about 15, 20 minutes out of our day.
Yeah, but to restore our honor and so forth that way, You had to be the knights in white shining armor, right?
Yeah.
Behavior had to be impeccable.
Oh yes, it did, and especially with my unit, that wasn't a problem.
Right.
You know,
Oh, your professionalism. Yeah.
professionalism. I mean, we were there, and I mean, we were medics. Mostly in the medical field. Our job was to take care of the wounded and the sick. Didn't matter, if you were Iraqi. Didn't matter if you're Kurdish. Didn't matter what you are. Also, and that comes down to the Hippocratic Oath. I mean, if you're sick and you're injured, we take care of you. That's what we
Right.
do. It doesn't matter, if
Okay.
you're an enemy or if you're a friendly. It shouldn't matter. As long as you're human, we're going to take care of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the hospital you was at was what, pretty good size? It wasn't a MASH unit,
It wasn't a MASH unit.
so you have evidently had a good sized operation there.
Yeah, we had, we were, I believe it's called a level 3 hospital. So we had everything. We had functioning, ER, we had functioning surgery, we had X-ray, podiatry, optometry. I worked in physical therapy.
Okay.
So I mean, we had an intensive care ward, 2 intermediate care wards, and then we just had the camps where we had the detainees, and we'd send out our medics into the camps to dispense, ibuprofen, medications, whatever they needed. So I mean, we were fully functioning. If we couldn't fix you, you were either going to Germany or you were coming back home if you were American. So,
Okay.
Now, was that attached to the prison, the hospital?
yes, the hospital was attached to the prison.
Okay.
Sound like a pretty big complex.
Yes,
Yes.
sure does.
Oh, yeah.
Not a small unit.
Yeah. The prisoners they had there, who were they?
They were everybody.
Everybody.
Everybody. We had everyone from, I remember one guy. He was there because he got caught drunk driving through a checkpoint, and he didn't stop when he should have stopped, and he got shot a lot. So we had to take care of him. We had just people outside the gates that they were sick and injured, so we would take them in, the locals. I remember every Thursday we had an amputee clinic in the physical therapy where we just had people come in from the outside.
Oh.
All the way up to head of terrorist cells. We had some really, really bad guys in there. But, like I said earlier, I mean, they're human.
Sure.
My job is to take care of you. Hopefully you won't come back and try to kill me.
Yeah.
Which was interesting. On more than one occasion, after an attack on our complex, we found hospital wristbands that we had issued on our attackers.
Oh.
So that's kind of heartbreaking, doing the right thing, and then they still have the mentality of
Coming back, yeah.
we're going to kill you anyway.
And that's getting worse.
Yeah. So.
Yes. Yeah. Did they have?
But we did have very many grateful, like I said, people. A lot of the locals, a lot of the people there that were just doing something stupid and they got injured. That weren't necessarily trying to harm Americans or anything.
Landmines?
Well,
Landmine victims?
not really landmines. A lot of mortars and gunshot wounds and burns. We had a lot of burn victims.
From the civilian population?
From the civilian population and from suicide bombs that went wrong, or bomb makers that,
Okay.
we had one guy, he had wired his own cell phone to the bomb, and his wife called while he was working on it, and it literally blew up in his face. So he was in the hospital for probably 2 months while we were taking care of him.
Yeah.
So.
Don't feel too sorry for him.
No. We had a lot of good jokes on him. But
Did you have some good interpreters?
we had good interpreters and we had some not good interpreters. We had a couple of our interpreters that had college level degrees, and they were very helpful in dealing with the language barrier. And then we had some guys that they'd be an interpreter for 2 months and then they'd be pulled from our hospital for whatever reason.
They become a security risk? Is that it?
I believe a few of them were security risks.
Might not have been repeating what they was told.
Yeah, or yeah.
Yeah.
They-
Yeah.
giving out some information that they probably shouldn't have.
Yeah.
When you was there at the beginning, what was your job then? Was you in the hospital?
Initially, I was working for the battalion motor office. I was the tool room clerk, or when we were in Kuwait. So I was the tool room clerk / platoon medic per the maintenance platoon, and so I didn't really get to see anything too bad. But nobody really saw anything too bad our first push, because we were stationed in Camp Arif Jan, Kuwait, which, once again was the last stop before you went to America. So we saw a lot of twisted ankles. Somebody got bit, an MP got bit by a dog. Little things, broken arm. Nothing too traumatic.
Yeah.
It's when I went over the second time and I was working physical therapy. That's when we saw the bad stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Overall, what did you think of Kuwait and Iraq?
Overall, I think, how can I put this? Kuwait, I don't know, it was like a vacation.
Was it?
It was, we were over there for 3 or 4 months. Like I said, we saw things that you would see on sick call. And, we got paid tax-free money, and it was easy, and, there was no hostile intent towards us at all. And, I got to see a little bit of the countryside, and that was fun.
Friendly people?
Very friendly people. The few Kuwaitis that I did meet, they were very nice.
That was R&R or what?
Well, it seemed like R&R. No, that was an actual deployment.
That was an actual deployment. Okay.
Yeah. During the initial push, we were so far back that we didn't really see anything. And then the second time, when we went back to Iraq, over to Abu Ghraib, the locals, for the most part, I would say about 85% of them, were very happy we were there, and taking care of them, and that America was there and doing the right thing. And about 5% were indifferent, and about 10% hated us.
Yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm.
But very beautiful. Once again, very beautiful country over there.
My impression is lots of sand.
Actually, not where we were stationed. Where we were stationed, because of the way the rivers are, I mean, it's
You got the green stuff.
We did. It was it's the cradle of civilization over there is where we were.
Right.
So lots of palm trees, lots of grass. I know people that had gardens outside of where they were sleeping, so that was pretty nice.
Hot?
Very hot. Very hot. You had to drink about, I want to say, 8 liters of water a day to stay hydrated, and you're just constantly sweating.
What kind of temperatures did you have during the day?
I think the hottest we recorded over there was about 135.
Wow.
That's pretty hot.
So it's pretty hot. It's a dry heat, but it's still very hot. So I mean, you're just pounding water, so you don't get yourself dehydrated. And then you have your about 70 or 80 pounds of gear on top of you, so
you're doing lots of sweating?
Constantly sweating.
Okay.
Constantly sweating. Doesn't matter how much AC you have over there. That only lowers it so much. I mean, you're constantly sweating, and you're constantly hot and uncomfortable, but you got a job to do, so you do it.
Right. Okay. Perspiration, is that you get lots of salt in your uniform from that, or?
You get a fair amount, but as we alluded to earlier, we lived on a big complex, so we had on-site laundry. We brought in our, as they called them, TCN, their third country nationals, where they would bring in people from outside the region, and they would have little businesses set up. We had a barber shop. We had on-site laundry where you turn it in, and 2 or 3 days later you get your uniforms back. And most of the time they didn't turn them pink, which was fun.
Sure.
But so I mean, it wasn't. And then we also had washers and dryers that you could do by hand, but the PX were always running low on detergent and stuff because people try to save money, and we're like, just fork over the $2. You get all this tax-free money, and you get paid pretty decent. You have nothing to spend it on. You might as well spend it on your uniform so you can
Yeah.
look nice.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay.
Forget what I was going to ask. No.
Okay. Did you do any traveling outside of your base? You get to see quite a bit of the country?
I got to see a fair amount. I could have seen more, but I didn't like to go off base all that much. You know, this is 2004, 2005, so this is really when the war is kicking off and it's raging.
Yeah.
So I mean, you know, you had IEDs everywhere. Well, you still have IEDs everywhere, and you have mortar attacks and you have ambushes. So I didn't go off a lot. I went to Baghdad a few times. Like I said, it was only about 15 minutes down the road, so it wasn't that big of a deal. I got to go see. I took a 4-day R&R, and I went to Qatar, and that country is very nice.
Is it?
Yes, they are the richest country in the world, like per person. Literally, if you're born into Qatar, and you're a native Qatari, or I don't know what the exact word for that is, you're born a millionaire.
Oh,
They have to they have to bring people into their country to work. So very lavish, very nice. You know, we went out to a couple restaurants to eat there, and we went to the mall, and it's it's very interesting.
seems like that's where a lot of terrorists are now. I don't know about then. I don't know if they're citizens of Qatar or.
You know, they were more than happy to see us and take our money when we were there. So, I mean, it's a possibility, you know, that they are from somewhere else. But then, you know, you read these, you know, these privileged people all of a sudden, you know, that have all this money, then they can afford to hate America and, you know, the capitalism and whatnot because they're just born into all this wealth. So to them, it doesn't really matter, you know.
I know. You mentioned a while ago about hiring barbers and people like that. Military now, I think, contract out so much stuff. Their mess halls and just about everything is contracted out now instead of using our own troops.
That makes us old timers jealous, you know, because we didn't have those luxuries.
Oh yeah.
But I can see where it's needed in a big sense. You know, you can't really have soldiers sideline doing that.
They used to.
I know they used to, but I think they feel that there are more important things to do,
Oh, that's for sure.
like staying alive.
Yeah. Back at the prison, I think that was Saddam Hussein's torture chamber, wasn't it?
Yeah. They had. I actually went to the hard site a couple times and saw where they had the platform where they would hang people.
Oh, jeez.
And it was haunting, especially along the walls because there were marks in the walls where you could see where people were drugged and there were fingernail marks in the wall and scratches and stuff. So.
Dungeons?
I didn't see any dungeons. I stopped the tour, my own tour at the site where they had the raised platform and they had the hook and they had the lever where they'd pull and you could see where they would just hang and drop. That was enough for me.
Sure.
Yeah. I wonder if that's where they hung Hussein.
I don't believe so. I mean, it'd be fitting,
yes, it would.
and appropriate, but I don't believe they actually did it at the prison.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you said then the guards was MPs.
Yes.
Okay. So they're
Even during the scandal, there was military police.
Oh yeah, we had military police as security within the walls, and then we had a unit of Marines that manned the walls and were more outward security. And along patrols, we had a combination of Marine and the U.S. Army doing that.
Yeah. Okay.
I want to make a point, if I could.
Sure.
You know, Abu, the scandal that happened there, the people that I was in the military with, and I'm sure everybody here, 99.9% of the people are some of the most honorable people that you'd ever meet on the planet.
Yeah.
Although we did have that trouble, and you rightly said, you know, it was taken care of. We took care of our own problem, and the people that needed to be admonished were, as a whole, military men, at least in the American military, are some of the most honorable and upstanding people walking around the planet. And I just,
You know, it's funny you say that, because most of us say that goes without saying.
yeah,
We accept that as a given,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and like you say, it don't get out to the public that, you know, this is America's best.
right.
And because we've served our government, we look around for some of our fellow people that serve. We know that the firemen and the policemen put their lives on the line by going out, you know, and we honor them too.
Absolutely.
And there's a band of brothers, you know, and we all feel that we've done something that makes our lives worthwhile.
Yeah, totally agree. You know, that's a great point. You know, I mean, there will be, you know, a few bad apples in every basket, but that doesn't mean we got to throw out the whole bushel. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll have that anywhere. You'll always have one or two baddies, but no, I totally agree. 99% of the people that I've met in the military are great people, and I still keep in touch with, you know, everyone from the lowest private that I knew when I was a private to full bird colonels, and you know, I mean, they're just great people. And they're, you know,
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
We each have a job to do, and that job may be a little different, but we're still people. And you're right in that yeah.
I guess when they interrogated the people there at the prison, was that CIA? Do you know? or-
I have no idea. I know that some days, because I worked physical therapy, there were times where I couldn't see certain patients because they said, "Oh no, they're being interrogated," and I didn't ask any questions. You know, I was lower enlisted, so I said, "Okay, well, I'll come back," and then they were there, and they were more than willing to do whatever therapy was on their schedule for that day. But as far as that side of the house, I didn't ask any questions because it was way above my pay grade at the time.
Smart thing to do.
yeah.
I knew what my job was, and I was going to do my job, and hope it didn't interfere with the bigger picture.
And if we'd have been there, it'd have been the same.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have changed. We'd have done the same thing you did.
Now, was you regular Army?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I was regular Army for 7 years.
7 years. Oh goodness.
Yeah.
Must have really enjoyed it. You couldn't do another 13 or 14. huh?
No. I at that point, you know, that second tour, I had an epiphany. I said, you know, this is fun, but you know, I could die, and especially with no end in sight. And I figured, you know, I'll go back to school and get my education, and you know, I'll support the troops from the civilian side.
Yeah.
You know, the best I could.
Yep.
Well, you did 7 years, you say?
Yes, sir.
Well, that's quite honorable. You know, that's
Yeah.
Yeah.
nobody's going to ask any more out of you.
Actually, wearing my re-enlistment shirt today.
You're re-up.
That's re-up on it.
Okay.
You say you keep in touch with a lot of the people you was in the service with?
Yeah, I keep in touch. You know, especially with the social media, with the Facebooking and the Twitter and everything. It's really easy, but I mean, there's still 5 or 6 people that I call on a regular basis and talk to for about an hour, at a time. So that's really nice.
All scattered all over the country.
All over the place.
Yeah.
All over the place.
That's one thing about the military. You meet people from all over the country. Yeah.
And it's good that you can maintain those ties. I think that's important for your well-being.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Because I mean, there are certain things that I could talk to my wife about, and and there's certain things I can't talk to my wife about. I love her, but if I go retell a war story, she'd be like, "Oh, that's terrible," and how blah blah blah. But if I talk to my buddy who was right there next to me, he'd be like, "Oh yeah, I remember that day. It was hell."
Yeah, sure.
and then we can have a laugh about it.
I think all military men have that same thing, that you don't talk about some things to civilians, let's put it that way, because they would just have no comprehension as what took place.
Yeah, it's hard to talk to somebody that hasn't been in the military. Yeah.
Well, they don't understand, so you go over and over and over trying to explain every little facet of it and so forth, and it, like you say, if you've been there and done that, it clicks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, they use a lot of. I mean, not the reserve, but the National Guard is being used a lot now. I don't know if it's short of regular Army or what it is.
Well, the Guard units, once they're activated, they're a regular Army, and they say that they're some of the best trained individuals that the military's had. And I can go along with that, probably.
Yeah. But
So they're doing an excellent job.
They sure are. They got to be trained well.
Yeah, and to that, I definitely want to speak to that point. When I was over there initially, they weren't. And there was definitely a little bit of animosity every time we got a new National Guard unit, because at that point, they didn't have a lot of experience. They had 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks, 2 weeks a year. And, a lot of these units, I have had friends who went from active to reserve or National Guard, and they say they're a joke. They show up and they're calling people by their first names, "Hey Tom," to their commander and stuff, and it made their blood boil. And I'm like, where's the professionalism in all that? And whenever we'd get a new unit, we'd have to train them on their job again, because they hadn't done their job. They hadn't officially done their job, since they were back in AIT, back in their training days. But with all the experience now, with people doing 4 and 5 and 6 tours over there, there's nothing like on-the-job training.
Exactly.
You become very proficient, or you become dead. So, to that, I can say, I believe now that we do have a very good understanding of what our jobs are over there with our National Guard units and with our reserve units. And that's not to say that every reserve unit is like, the one that I said before. I'm sure there are plenty of, very professional, very, they do their job very well. It's just, in my personal experience, it was a pain, because we had to retrain them on their job that they should have already been, proficient in.
Yeah.
And I think overall, like I said, especially towards the multiple tours, they, took it a lot more seriously.
Yeah.
And the training, when they realized that, we're going to have to go back.
Yeah.
And last time we were lacking on this, and with experience, the knowledge and the training came.
Yeah. Greg, we're out of time.
All right. Well,
Thank you for your service, and thank you for being on our show.
well,
Thank you for your service, Greg.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
Hope you enjoyed the program. Remember, freedom is not free. So if you see a veteran or someone in uniform, just walk up to them, shake their hand, say, "Thank you for your service." Thank you, and good night.